legends never die.
That's it on the season, guys. Week 20 is done. Playoffs are going to start. Congrats to the teams that made the playoffs. It came down to the last week. 11 teams were still in it. Actually came down for a bunch of the matchups to today. Some were over by yesterday, but a lot of them came down to today. So definitely one of the most exciting competitive seasons we've had. Clearly, everybody knows how to play this game, and when you come out on top, or at least when you make the playoffs, it is something that is really gratifying. So congrats to you guys. Winners of week 20. Adam beat Moy. Joe beat Alejandro. David beat Efren. I beat AJ. Carlos beat Ray. Dale beat Justin. Solidified the playoff spots for Dale. Well, Dale I think would have been in regardless, but David, things would have really had a unique circumstance. Well, Dale would have had a loss, and he would have had a loss to miss the playoffs. Joe just missed out on the playoffs. Hell of a run for Joe in the second half. If one earlier week in the season had went a different way, Joe would have made the playoffs. I'll have a little breakdown of how the second half went for each team, but big wins, great season. Now comes win or go home, right? Playoffs, so win or go home. Quick recap on the season. Started off kind of crazy, with the overdrafts, and we talked about it on the group me a little bit, how it affected some teams from the get-go, but Dale spoke about it, and I won't get too much into it. But needless to say, it just shows what good managers can do, right? Alex, AJ, Adam, all made the playoffs. Joe was right on the cusp of playoff contention, had a hell of a second run in the second half, was probably one win away from, during the season, if he had to flip one of those losses to a win, he would be in the playoffs. Let's see, it was Joe, Adam, Alex, AJ, and someone else overdrafted, Justin, I believe. And Justin was right in the contention too. I believe it was Justin. But needless to say, the season was not that those punishments did not determine the season, because success was found, and good managers create success even in the worst situation. So fantasy is very much strategy more than luck. Fortunately, things didn't go the way for Efren, Joe, Justin, and Ray that they wanted it to, but great. Three of them ended with almost 500 records. Efren, Joe, and Justin all ended with the same record, 9-11. I mean, that's still very good, and with the fact that you guys were, one win away from the playoffs, shows that your standings in the end doesn't reflect how your season. I mean, it's a literal reflection, but it doesn't show like how good you guys did. You guys were right there in it. And then, fortunately, Ray, he went into the draft with the best situation, extra picks. I think he had the first pick or the third pick, or both, because he had like Efren's. He had like 3 extra picks in the first couple rounds. Had Trout, Glasnow playing at a Cy Young level when he was healthy. He had Rendon. He had Tatis, and then he just got hit with injuries. Trout missed about 60-70% of the fantasy season. He ended up trading Rendon because at that point it was just, he had to flip the script, so he was ready for be ready for next year. And Glasnow went down with Tommy John. Excuse me. So just Ray had some bad luck, and unfortunately is our Sacco for the year. Dale announced it this year on the group me. There's no playoffs for the Sacco. It's the last place of the season. So Ray will have to wear that Giants jersey at a game, or however we set it up with COVID maybe in our next hangout or something. Efren, Justin, I mean, the chips kind of fell where they fell. Bit of bad luck, but great season. And Joe, hell of a season. And that takes me to my little recap of the second half. I broke down everybody's records from week 11 to week 20, and Joe had the best record for the second half of the season. Joe stands alone at 7-3 from week 11 to week 20. So Joe went 7-3. Me, Adam, and Alex went 6-4. AJ and David went 5-1-4. Moy and Efren went 5-5. Dale and Carlos went 4-1-5. Justin went 3-7, and Ray went 2-8. So that's a quick recap on the season. Again, guys, awesome season, awesome, and congrats to the winners of Week 20. Extra $20 in your pocket. And now we look at the playoffs. So first, congrats to, pat on my back, Adam, high five, Moy, high five for cashing in on some season-ending winnings. Congrats, Adam, you're always winning money. So this is just par for the course for you. And but what this league will show us is that the way you finish the season doesn't necessarily mean that's how you're finishing in the playoffs. Little breakdown on the playoffs. So I controlled my own destiny. I won, I would say, at the 1 seed. That happened. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very excited about that. Adam, if he beat Moy, he jumps to second. He did. So me at 13-7, Adam at second at 12-8, Moy 12-8 because he stays above Alex because they both lost and Alex was behind him in the standings. So Moy at 12-8 at 3, Alex at 4 at 11-9, Dale at 5 at 10-9-1 with the big win. David with the big win stays at 6, 10-9-1. Carlos with the big win was trailing to Ray the whole time. Closed the deal. Great job, Carlos, at the 7th spot at 9-10-1. And AJ makes the playoffs at the 8th spot at 9-10-1. If you look at it like a point system, a win is 1 point, a tie is half a point. Joe, Efren, and Justin finished 9-10-11 at 9-11. So that only equals 9 points. 9 wins, 9 points. AJ, 9-10-1. That one tie gives him a half point and keeps him at the 8th spot, and AJ makes the playoffs. This is my projections, and so far I've been right. I'm pretty 95% positive this is how it's going to play out. So Joe gets the 9th spot by getting a win and the same record as Efren and Justin, who are coming off losses, so he jumps them. So how's the playoffs matchups going to look? I'm familiar with the 6-team playoff teams. First 2 seeds get byes, and the way that was structured was like, I believe seed 1 would play the winner of 3 and 6, and seed 2 would play the winner of 4 and 5. Now that no one gets byes and it's 1 through 8, my assumption, and actually, you know what? I'll look at it right now. I don't think the playoff structure is set up yet. I go to league. I go to view details. Yeah, like the playoff structure isn't set up yet. So I'm assuming it's going to be 1 versus 8, which would put an immediate rematch of me and AJ playing this week to a rematch to next week. 2 versus 7, which puts Adam against Carlos. Carlos, the giant killer who went 5-1 against me, Adam, and Moy, the top 3 seeds. Him and Adam split. Both got a win. Both got a loss against each other during the season. So Adam versus Carlos. 3 versus 6. That's Moy versus David. That's a great matchup. David's team is hitting well. Moy's team has a power offense. So whose pitching will come into play? We'll see. And then 4 versus 5. Alex versus Dale. Alex definitely has a pitching predicament right now, and Dale's pitching is doing really well. Now, a couple questions I have for the commish. Maybe you could comment right after this video posting something I always forget every year, but is there a minimum innings requirement in the playoffs? Can anyone answer that? And what was the second thing? I think that was it. Yeah, if there's a minimum innings thing. And the other thing was, is it 3 or 4 starting pitchers that we get this year? 2 questions I have, if we can get that hammered out before tomorrow starts. Again, I think that's going to be the structure, and that poses a lot of great, interesting matchups. This is just my projections. I'm not sure. We'll see how it plays out tomorrow. So we got the Elite Eight going to the first round of the playoffs. Congrats to everyone who won this week, who got in. A lot of familiar playoff people who are consistently in there. As long as this league has been going on, Dale has made multiple appearances. Adam's made multiple appearances. Moy's been in there a few times. I've been in there a few times. And AJ's been in there a few times. Carlos is a new face in the playoffs. And Alex has been there, I think, a couple times. So after this point, I don't know how. I'm going to have to look at the brackets that Yahoo sets up to see how the semifinals, because this is going to be quarterfinals, and then the final 4 will be semifinals, and then we'll have the finals. So I'm going to see how the brackets set up to see how the semifinals go. How the winners of whichever matchups, which bracket they fall into, and who they would match up against in terms of the other matchups. So again, this is going to be really fun. It's win or go home now. Let's go. Season 21 playoff start tomorrow. Let's get it.